Hey guys, welcome to Beyond Sunday podcast. We're decided to take the conversation deeper on this one. In this episode, this is the Beyond Sunday Mexico edition. So currently we are in Vicente, Guerrero, Mexico at one of our mission partners, Welcome Home Outreach. And so Shay has joined us. This is her first time at Welcome Home.
Yeah.
And so we've been here for a couple days. And our
day.
No, has it? It's only been a day. It's a long day of travel. But in this edition, Mexico edition, we thought that it would be cool to hear some voices and from some other people who are with us and what they're hearing from God, what God is stirring within them, where they've even taken notice of what God has been doing.
Yeah. Well, the whole point of this podcast is to see God outside of just a Sunday morning service, right? And so as we're together down here doing something different with a large group, we're expecting and anticipating God's going to show up and move and work. And even we've already heard a couple of stories already. And so, we thought like this is a good opportunity to share those. So,
yeah. And on this day, we went to church service this morning. Some echoes there.
Pretty loud.
But more than just from Shay and I, more than just from you and I, wanting to hear from those who are with us that as God stirs our hearts and souls, as God is working around us, we might take notice and call it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the rest of this episode, that's what we're hoping you're hearing. And so we look forward to this conversation.
I saw God when we were in the river playing, or in the
Beach.
Playing with friends and having a good time. I also saw God at church today. I saw Rey Mysterio, who is a famous wrestler.
This is part of the sermon.
He was a part of the sermon because he was talking about like heroes and like the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as a wrestler showed up on the screen, Aaron and I both immediately looked for you to see you because I was like, Brain's going to like this. And what did you do? You went like this.
Yeah, I went like this.
It's good. Good. Love it. Are you looking forward to seeing God in other places this week?
Absolutely.
Good.
Especially the pizza today.
All right.
Gotta be the pizza.
Gotta be the pizza. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
So my name is Matt Hawkins, and this trip that we're on right now is my 7th trip down here to Welcome Home in the last 3 years. So I went through a pretty traumatic divorce for me, and kind of my life blew up in a day. I got a hug and a kiss one morning. She said, "I'll see you tonight," and then she never came home. I worked for her family. We lived on the family farm. Everything was wrapped around our world. It had been a while since I had been to church. My wife at the time and I had left CCOG, and it happened when we left that church specifically. It happened right as Christmas tree harvest started, and we ended up just not going to church at all. And then we ended up just kind of falling out of church for about 2 years. So when everything happened, I ended up back at home with my parents, and ended up coming back. My parents had just started attending CCOG again. So I ended up going to service with them, and I was there for about 2 weeks. And Elmer reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're going to Mexico in like 10 weeks. Do you want to come with us?" And my initial answer was, "No, absolutely not. I don't want to go anywhere or do anything specifically with anything involving Hispanic culture or Central or Latin America." My ex-wife was a Spanish teacher, a migrant coordinator. We had spent a lot of time together in Mexico and in South America. So the idea of coming down here at that point in life was a hard no. Mm-hmm. And Elmer's like, "Well, why don't we go to coffee and talk about it?" So Elmer and I met for coffee, and we talked back and forth. I kind of told him what was going on in life, and he kind of sat there and nodded and goes, "Okay, it makes sense, but I'm going to ask you a question." I said, okay. And he says, why do you think that God is providing you with this opportunity right now? Why do you think that why do you think that I asked you to go to Mexico right now?
Mhm.
So I told him I would think about it. And I went home. I went back to my parents and I talked to my dad about it a little bit. And I talked to my sister, Megan, who had been on at least one, if not more, of these trips. And Megan's like, I really think you should go. So I agreed and I came down, and I fell in love with the people and the location and what we were doing. It was a very, very hard trip to be down. And it's the only trip that I've come down where I hadn't been with, since then, that I haven't been with a family member or people that I knew. And I'm glad that I had that trip kind of by myself to be able to sit and think and really focus on what was going on in life. So that trip went really well. I was like, that's fun. I don't know if we'll do it again, but I'm glad that I went. And then a year, 10 months, 8 months later, Elmer's like, hey, we're going back to Mexico. It's like, okay. And he's like, do you want to come? And I said, okay, I'll come. And he's like, we're doing STP fundraiser. Will you come help drive the shuttle bus for STP? Just drive in circles all day. So I did that, and that was actually the day that I met Peyton. Was it a fundraiser for STP to come down for Mexico? And
That was the STP I got honked at.
yes, it was.
Okay.
It was.
Or you or Peyton. It sounds like Peyton was really close to you.
I think that's for sure it's me. But anyway,
Girl,
that was the first time you
or-
met
Yeah.
Peyton.
So that was when I met Peyton. We came. So then I came down, and on that trip, both my parents came. My little sister came, and so that trip was a whole different atmosphere.
Yeah.
Which just made me connect even more with this place, because then it wasn't just my thing now. Now it was something I did with other people. And Peyton wasn't on that trip. So I'd met her the day, or earlier at the fundraiser, and came down with my parents. That was all. Or no, I totally got that wrong. Peyton was at the very first STP fundraiser. But the second one, she came on that trip, and that's when we started spending time together. Was down here. And then another year went by, 8 months, and Elmo was like, "You want to come back to Mexico?"
I feel like we've been coming down here a lot in the last 3 years.
And I was like, okay, I'll come. And so I came, and my dad came on that trip, and that was the trip that Peyton and I really connected together. And we got back from that trip and started dating after we got back. And then a few months, just about a month ago, we got engaged, and then this is our first trip down here together as an engaged couple. But then there were some other trips in between with some other people. So I've come down once with Jimmy. I've come down with Dr. Sherfy, and it's just become a place that I can kind of reset and reconnect. And as I was preparing for this trip, I had a lot of frustrations, a lot of changes in life, a lot of frustrations with just where things were, where I was, and to the point that the week before we left Peyton and I were sitting and talking. I really don't want to go next week. I was just there 5 weeks ago. Like, I should take another week off work. I really don't want to go. But I did. And so as I prepared for the trip, and as I come down, like I said, on day one, my goal for this trip, and what I'm trying to be open to and listening for, is why here in London? Why this place? Why Vicente Guerrero? Why this group of people?
Yeah.
And why now? Why now in life? And so it's been an interesting week as I've kind of reflected on that, reflected on the skill set and the abilities that God has given me, and how I can use those to further welcome home, the church, our relationship together and our connection. And I don't know, I haven't had that Kairos moment yet where he goes, this is why now, this is why here, and we'll keep listening and waiting and hoping
attention.
that we get that answer.
Yeah, but very cool that 3 years ago, this was not something you had thought that in 3 years' time.
No, 3 years ago, I'd never wanted to come back to Mexico.
Right.
And now this is my third trip in 3 months that I've been down here. So.
And those of us who are new are grateful for those of you who have come down many times and are teaching the things and showing the way.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you. Awesome.
Well, my name is Bryden. I'm Shay's kid. And what stood out to me today in the van was all the kids were just so happy together. Like they all were like maybe not friends before, but then like right when they got on the van, they were all talking to each other, and even they were arm wrestling me, like even though they didn't know me at all, like I was a complete stranger, and they were still like acting like I was just one of their friends, and they're just like so kind to everybody.
So at Welcome Home, the van goes out and picks up kids and then brings them here for preschool. And so how many did you have in your van?
Yeah. 14.
14-ish, yeah.
Yeah. What time did you leave?
6-ish.
6 a.m. Yeah.
6.
So to get up early.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool.
We had a dance party in our van. You guys did arm wrestling?
Yeah, we did arm wrestling, and
I held a little girl. She climbed in my lap and slept the whole ride. So I just got to snuggle.
I got an amigo. He called me amigo.
Yeah.
His name's Dylan. Because the girl that led like his age group was like, because he said amigo, so I gave him a high five, and then she was like, "Do you speak Spanish?" And I was like, "No." So she was like, she introduced me to all the kids, and she was like, "This is Dylan. This is," and she just kept introducing me to all of them.
So made a friend.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Welcome, Aaron.
Thanks.
Also leading this group on this trip to Mexico.
Yeah. And also a familiar face to this podcast.
Yeah,
because you're joining us for many things.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And telling us and you're showing what you're going to do. So we'll just have it.
Yeah. So Shay asked if I wanted to record tonight, and I was like, no, I'm good. And then he walked out of the room, and the Lord was like, hey, remember how people have been supporting this whole week and how it's been just like a community thing of, yeah, I'm leading. And at the same time, it's my first time leading a missions trip. And there have been so many instances, basically the whole time, where most of the other people have been here and have done this far more times than I have. And so it's been this weird, like, I'm leading, but also like not the most familiar with the situation, not the most familiar with the processes. And so the Lord was just speaking to my heart, like the reiteration of community and community mattering and community being important, and just the ways that, like, yeah, I've led this, but I have not done it alone by any means.
Yeah. One of the things that stuck out to me in this week, me leading this mission trip in this group, has been what it takes to not just lead a group of people into a foreign country, but spiritually lead. And that's what I've seen you do is, taking Adina aside and reading through the Bible and some other ways of praying and leading our times that we connect at the end of each day. But there's a spiritual shepherding and leadership that component that one can think, oh, I can bring a group of people into a foreign country. We can build a house. We can do this job and that job, and we can drive from here and there. But can you spiritually shepherd people in this space while they're out of their norm, out of their own rhythms, with a group of people that maybe are friends, but also maybe some are strangers, and if there are issues that arise, how to shepherd well into that relationally. And so I've seen that piece sort of rise up within there, and that's been really cool to watch. And we've done a really good job of shepherding us during this week.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for listening in, guys. Hopefully what you have encountered in the stories that have been shared from those who have been here at Welcome Home this last week, serving alongside this ministry here, as well as this group of 16 of us. Hopefully through these stories and things that are being shared, you've been encouraged, and in ways that we have as well. I mean, one of my highlights is that on this week I got to be here with my family, with Lori, with Junior, and with Braden, but also having you and Bryden along for the first time, and having an extended family, because in this way it feels like extended family on mission. That what maybe it looks like to be on mission, a family on mission.
Yeah.
So that's been a cool experience.
Yeah. I think there's a number of things that have stuck out, or God's been saying, but yeah, the idea of it's how quickly relationship gets deeper when you're serving together. I don't know that there's another way that brings that as quickly. And I noticed that especially in this week, not necessarily with the relationships that are already deep for me, although there is another added aspect of that, but we've served together in other ways and other places. But with a few people on this trip who I knew a little bit coming here, and especially I think with foot washing last night, I got the opportunity to pray with somebody who I just knew a little bit coming in. And there's just something about serving alongside somebody in this way for 7 days straight or whatever it's been, that is pretty cool about what it does for a relationship.
Yeah, but and with that being that we're on the base together, we're sharing meals, breakfast, lunch, going out, having dinner, yes, and serving alongside each other. That there breeds a level of interaction that you just don't get in other spaces and places.
Yeah.
And in those kinds of ways, that it's been really cool to be a part of. In fact, one of the statements that was made, maybe it was a couple nights ago, was that seeing and observing and just car rides together, that the statement that was made was, I never really had a pastor that seemed like a real person, like a pastor, but not a real person. And the difference this week was that I got to see like more of a real person, and the joy and the fun and the that there's a part of that you and I carry in the role that we're currently serving, but we're no less human than the rest, and we're also as everyone else, no less capable of hearing from God. It's been the invitation all along. If I act and am being something different that is not a few people could relate to, what good is that?
Right.
But if in my interactions it is looks more transparent, more real, more like real life, and others are like, well, that looks like or something that I want to do, or looks like fun.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that.
Or it looks like me. That's just looks like
me. Yeah.
Which means if God speaks to them, maybe God speaks to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's been good. And again, being that we're here, having all these shared experiences together on, again, staying in dorms and like going and serving together, sharing meals, and riding in the car together. It just breeds that level of connection, the time spent together.
Mhm. Yeah, it's good.
It is good. So we leave tomorrow, bright and early, and we'll be back in the States, God willing.
Yikes.
Well, I mean, there's never no.
Oh.
God willing, we're back in the States, and
It feels like if you're watching this video and you haven't.
so we did make it back.
Oh.
But we're back in the States tomorrow, God willing. But in this week, this again Beyond Sunday Mexico edition, it is still the same invitation. Where is it that God's getting your attention? Where is it that he's speaking? Are you recognizing?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that God does want to speak to you? And in those ways, those echoes, whatever way it comes and happens, are you taking notice? Are you calling it out? One of the ones I don't want to let pass by was even, I think it was last night, like the ministry here was needed to go and have some meetings with accountant to figure out some things. And it was stated like, it's not a big deal, it's an accounting issue, but like it was messy. And the word after a couple of accountants meeting with a couple of accountants and then coming back, and the word reported to us was like things that needed to fall in place fell in place right when they needed to.
Yeah, it could only be God.
And I was like, no, let's not let that pass by. Let's not move beyond that. That God is doing a work here. You might see it as something small and insignificant, or we might, because we're not intimately involved in the ministry here in the day to day, but it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And to know that, like, hey, God's actually working here. God's moving before you even walk into the accountant's office. He's already moving ahead of you, and seeing that things will flourish. God's kingdom will break in. And if God's kingdom is breaking in here in this ministry in ways that we've already heard in this podcast, from the children who are cared for here, to the homes that are built, to just people who are coming to be a part of these short-term mission opportunities, God's speaking, and he's moving, and his kingdom's breaking in.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes, I don't know, sometimes for me, it's actually the small ways that God shows up. I think in the big things, I need him to, and I expect him to. Like, God does big things. When God does small little things, it's like, oh, he cares about those things also. Those little small details that maybe they're insignificant or they don't matter as much, but they do matter to me. And so like I was even thinking, I don't know, just as we're calling things out, another thing that was stated a couple times today was the fact that while we've been here, there have been multiple moments that the hosts here, Michelle and Jose, have asked for people to pray. Will someone pray? And that sounds like that's something they do with every group. And typically it's crickets, I think is what Michelle said, which is fine. Her or Jose typically end up praying, but with our group, that never happened. In fact, the kids were fighting over who got to pray, and Michelle called out how cool it is for kids to be saying that. And for me, that was a reminder of like, don't miss. God was like, don't miss what I'm doing, because that's not unusual for that context, right? These are our kids, not only our own kids, but these are kids in our context of ministry and church and family and whatever. I'm used to them offering that up.
Yeah.
It felt like God reminding, like, don't miss that that's an area that my kingdom has broken through. Your kids know what it is. Bryden even said, because he prayed for the family. And as we were talking and kind of teasing him about, like, don't say this, do say that, he goes, Mom, praying is just talking to God. He goes, I know how to talk to a friend. I can talk to God. And that it just felt like God was like, don't miss. That's not insignificant.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you come into other contexts, like you said, it in our context, not a surprise, and maybe wouldn't.
I wouldn't have noticed if Michelle didn't call it out.
Right. But in a different context, and someone else calling it out, it causes us to stop and be like, oh no, that is significant. It is significant.
Yeah. Well, and her reminder even this afternoon of for her, it felt like we hear so much about the next generation and how it's all going the wrong way. And the reminder, God's like, I'm actually not done yet. I'm not done with this generation. We saw that all week long in the way the kids stepped up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not done. I'm
For
done. It's not a lost cause.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we'll probably likely link some pictures and video and whatnot from this week. So it is more than just us in this video, but we have some other things that'll go along with this to add in. So thanks for joining us in listening and watching the Beyond Sunday Mexico edition. And we look forward to returning here, and we'll be back in a rhythm of what is God saying and how are we responding. Take care.